There's where they're running with Hamlin in 9th, and what a great job Stewart has done. Hamlin about to be 8th as he passes Jimmie Johnson. What a great job Tony Stewart has done after getting crashed on the 3rd lap. He has fought his way back on to the lead lap. That's the way you win championships.
You know, there was so much question, I think, from the fans, especially the Joe Gibbs fans, the Tony Stewart fans, the Denny Hamlin fans. Why would Joe Gibbs Racing leave General Motors that they had won 3 championships with in all those races? Because Joe Gibbs and J.D. Gibbs, they knew no matter how many races, how many championships they won, they would always be the 3rd or 4th spoke in the wheel behind Hendrick, Childress, and possibly DEI at General Motors. I said all along, even money-wise, if it was a lateral move, this was a great move just simply by being the biggest fish in the pond with Toyota.
Stewart just passed the 2nd place car, Edwards, and let me correct, he is not back on the lead lap, but he would be if a caution comes out, or if he passes his teammate Kyle Busch on the racetrack.
But either way, he needs a caution to get back in contention.
But either way, he's done a great job. What happened to the 1 car, guys?
Well, he hit the wall and was passed by Jamie McMurray and by the 28 of Travis Kvapil, and he goes back after Kvapil.
And you know, Jamie McMurray is another one of those cars, the 26 car, that has just kept his nose clean and his side clean, and now he's worked his way into the top 10.
Here's what happened to Truex to take a few more of the decals off the side of his number 1. And McMurray goes by as Truex rights himself.
I wish I'd have been smart enough back in the day to put foam in my right side door. Dadgum, that would have been.
30 laps to go. Kyle Busch leading Carl Edwards and Jeff Gordon, and will we need one more pit stop? That's the question.
Kyle Busch right now 3 1/4 seconds in front of Carl Edwards. We've been talking a lot about the Roush Fenway woes with lug nuts. David Reagan in the 6 car, he actually just passed Dave Blaney a lap ago, and that moved David back into the top 5. This kid just keeps getting better and better and better. This would be my wild card next week in the All-Star Showdown to win the race and transfer to the All-Star race.
Well, we've talked about how young drivers often don't get much of a chance to perform at the top level of NASCAR. It's either you have it and you're quick out of the box right away like that guy, Denny Hamlin, or you don't. Jack Roush gave David Reagan enough time to mature as a driver at this level, and he's being rewarded. Reagan has really come into his own.
Darrell, like we've said, we like that old crew chief he's put him with, Jimmy Finney.
Smart guy.
This one's starting to look like a sequel. More NASCAR on Fox to come.
We have 24 laps to go at Darlington, South Carolina. On the Fox ticker, you see Kyle Busch leading Carl Edwards by 2.8 seconds. Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. close together, and then the Fords of Reagan and Kenseth, the Toyotas of Blaney and Hamlin, the Chevy of Jimmie Johnson, and the Ford of Jamie McMurray and Travis Kvapil. The big question is, can the leaders make it on fuel? Let's start with Krista.
The 18 says they can make it. Kyle Busch says he's good to go.
And I think that's good news for everyone, because as I've looked back through the history of the green flag runs we've had tonight that led to green flag stops, it seemed like the Toyotas were, as a whole, as well as the Dodges, which we really don't have a Dodge a factor right now, were the first ones to hit pit road. It looked like possibly the Chevrolets and the Fords were running a little bit further than the Toyota.
Steve, what about Carl Edwards?
Mike, good news, bad news for Carl Edwards. The good news is he can make it. The bad news is he's a little bit tight. Matt Yoakum.
Now, as far as the Chevrolet goes, from the Hendrick camp, the 24 of Gordon and the 88 of Dale Jr. both can make it on fuel. No concern there. The bigger issue is just the handling. Gordon's gone big time to the tight side. Meanwhile, Jr., he's fighting a car that's taking a big swing from tight to loose, Steve.
And Matt, just an update on David Reagan there in the 6 car. He too can make it to the end.
Well, but it sounds like that right now the handling is really starting to go away on all these cars. We've got a lot of rubber down on the track. The track is really cooled down, and I think that's got a lot of these front ends not working, and the cars are just not turning.
not counting the fact that the guys are getting a little bit tired, because this is a long, hard race without a lot of cautions. Really been up on the wheel tonight.
Matt Kenseth 6th, Dave Blaney 7th. In contention all night. Dick?
Blaney's lost a couple of spots, Mike, because the car has gone tight since the last pit stop. Virtually every 10 or 12 laps, crew chief Tommy Baldwin has told Blaney to save fuel. It will be very close as to whether he can make it or not.
And that's one of the Toyotas that I was talking about.
Look at Tony Stewart. He is flying. He might be the fastest car on the racetrack, and he may get his lap back on his own the hard way.
Oh, by all means, he's the fastest cat out there. He has chased Kyle Busch down from a mile back, and he's closing up here. He can get back on the lead lap all by himself. Incredible that they've able to fix that car and get it up there and competitive as it is.
Yeah, considering he's working on cracking the top 20, what it looked like on lap 3, laid up against the wall, turn 1.
I thought it was going to be a bad, points night for him. He'd be in the garage, but they worked on it and fixed it.
Darrell, how hard to retain your focus when you get knocked out of contention on lap 3 at a place as demanding as this?
Well, the good thing is, you got all night to work on it. You got all night to maybe get back in there somehow if you can. So that's the good news. You don't want it to happen at the end of the night.
I believe the car that the Hanlon has went away the most here in the closing stages of this race, Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, he continues to lose positions. That's a battle with Jamie McMurray in the 26 for 10th, and you see Jeff Burton in the 31 right there behind him as well, as we'll be coming to 16 laps to go next time.
Yeah, that 48 car has had a rough week. They qualified 3rd. That's pretty good. That's the only good thing that's happened to them since they've been down here.
Yeah, wrecked twice yesterday. Had to go to a backup car.
$17 laps to go for Kyle Busch, driving a car that in the first 100 miles of this race, you see those brakes glowing cherry red. Said he had no brakes. He had a car that would not turn at all. Everything but the kitchen sink was wrong with that car in the first 100 miles. And now he's 3.5 seconds up on Carl Edwards.
Yeah, he's one of the few cars still can run a lap down in the 29s this deep into a run.
He's if I were the crew chief, I'd say, look, dude, just trust me from now on, will you?
Yeah, because actually with 15 laps to go now and over a 3-second lead, I believe I would definitely take the advice of my spotter, Jeff Dickerson, and go a little conservative here, especially maybe if they're close on fuel as well.
Close the deal. He's been doing a pretty darn good job of it. There's 48 dropping another spot.
Now, Jeff Burton just kicked Jimmy Johnson out of the top 10, and he and Jamie McMurray now fight for 11th. And Kurt Busch coming back into that picture along with Martin Truex.
Haven't heard much about Kurt all night, but here he is. He's moved up into 13th spot.
Darrell, he's going to get his best finish since the Daytona 500 if this keeps up.
That's amazing.
And the thing about Kurt Busch, we've been talking about all the drivers and teams make it, can't make it. Kurt Busch, the 2-car, Roy McCauley, or actually Pat Tryson, they came to pit road and topped off. That was one of the cars that did top off with fuel when we got the 1 to go.
13 laps left.
It's been an interesting night though, with the track and the repaving and the way the cars have bounced off the wall, the different leaders we've had. It's been a really interesting night. Fun race to watch, and there's not been a lot of caution flags. A lot of green flag, hard racing.
And if you watch those 4 practice sessions, 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, I don't think we would have ever believed we would only had 8 cautions and we would have 41 cars of the 43 still out on the racetrack now with 12 laps to go.
I mean, everybody was saying, oh, it's going to be a crash fest. It'll be yellow fever all night long, and we really haven't seen that.
But it was what we expected, and at the start of the race, had a couple of cautions in quick succession. 8 cautions on the night, but 15 different leaders, 35 lead changes. And Krista, Kyle has now led 157 laps.
And Mike, they still think they're okay on fuel. They told Kyle, hey, just kind of roll with it just to be safe, but they think they're going to be 2 laps ahead. But they did say about 10 laps ago, hey, Kyle, I know you're trying to take care of that thing. Could you just take care of it a little more?
Yeah, I would say he could knock about another couple of tenths a lap at. I watched him. He got down to about a 30 flat, a 30-10. Last lap, 29.81. Picked back up 2 tenths.
And I noticed as he came down the straightaway there, Larry, Jeff was pointing out about his right rear tire sticking out from under the body. It's sticking way out there. He doesn't need to be getting that up against the wall anymore.
This is a battle for fourth right here between Dale Earnhardt Jr. and that 88 car, looking back at the guy that's trying to reel him in, David Reagan, in that 6 car.
I tell you, Dale Jr. was so happy with his car all weekend long. I just thought he was going to have it's not a bad night. He's going to finish 4th or 5th here, but I thought he would be a little stronger than that.
And David Reagan is going to climb into the top dozen in the Sprint Cup standings tonight.
That's amazing. That's really exciting for him.
And there comes Matt Kenseth in that 17 car. Has had just a terrible weekend here. Qualified back in the 34th position. And right now he's got his sights set on maybe what might be only his second top 5 of 2008.
And Larry, as I said earlier, if he's going to get back in the chase, if he's going to get in condition to get in the chase, he's going to have a lot of nights like this.
I think Jimmy Johnson in this 48, he's ready to see a checkered flag on this thing. He continues to slide backwards. Again, a backup car he's in. 2 crashes yesterday. 8 laps to go.
Last night on a late restart, fuel mileage was certainly an issue. One of the lead cars sputtered for lack of fuel and stacked the field up behind him.
And that was actually Mark Martin driving for Junior Motorsports. Mark Martin, we've not mentioned him tonight. Right now, he stayed on the lead lap in that 8 car back in the 15th position.
Yeah, and kind of interesting with Mark Martin, he never has a problem with the car. He never tears one up. He tore one up in practice, and then, of course, it wasn't his fault. But on that restart, he got wiped out.
6 to go next time by for Kyle Busch.
He has about built his lead now to almost 4 seconds over Carl Edwards in the 99 car.
Team cars here.
5th and 6th place, Reagan and Kenseth.
And they are right there on Dale Jr. too. They're closing up fast on him with that 41. Won't get out of the way. Junior's going to try to get by him on the inside here, looks like.
5 laps to go. Kyle Busch's night has read like a movie script. The car didn't have any brakes. The car wouldn't turn. He bounced it off the wall. They dropped a lug nut. They dropped another one. They dropped one and got penalized. They dropped another one and put it back on. Hollywood couldn't come up with a night like this for a race car driver, but here he is, overcoming the penalty and all. Kyle Busch back to the lead and pulling away.
You can't overcome talent. I mean, when you have the kind of talent this kid has, you just about got to take the car and lock it up in the garage to keep him from winning.
We've got 4 laps to go, about 3.5 laps to go for Kyle Busch.
I'm just hoping and praying that when he gets out of the car tonight, he'll have something nice to say, because his driving is impeccable. And when he gets out of the car, that's questionable.
You know, certainly it has paid off.
There's 3 right here.
It has certainly paid off for Rick Hendrick to get Dale Earnhardt Jr. over there in that camp. He has almost carried the Hendrick banner most of the year. But I said all along that whoever got Kyle Busch, that was going to be the real winner in all this trading of drivers headed into 2008. And he's not let me down. As right now, he's about 2.5 laps away from what will be his 3rd win of 2008.
If you can't learn something from Rick Hendrick and Joe Gibbs,
you 2 right here, bud.
You ain't never going to learn.
2 to go.
And Krista, it sounds like Kyle has been pretty silent on the radio these last 50 miles.
Yeah, I don't know if 500 miles here in Darlington, if he's lost his voice or what, but we have not heard from Kyle Busch. He has been very quiet and very consistent in that race car. I think he is just ready to get this thing over with and celebrate in victory lane.
I think, Krista, what happened to him, I think he did so much whining and complaining early in the race there that they just finally told him. They may have turned his radio off.
Man, here it is.
White flag.
Easy, buddy, easy.
And remember, he came in here our points leader after finishing 2nd at Richmond. He'll certainly stretch that points lead out, because right now Jeff Burton in the 31 car is running back in the 10th position.
His 4th try.
How proud of you guys I am.
His 4th try at Darlington. His 1st checkered flag. Kyle Busch wins the Dodge Challenger 500.
My goodness. Who would have thunk it?
Carl Edwards comes home 2nd. Jeff Gordon's coming home 3rd. There you see fourth, and how about that battle for fifth between teammates David Ragan and Matt Kenseth? Quite a battle down to the wire.